Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben's award-winning podcast, as voted by Grow Your Own magazine and by my followers and listeners. So if you're new to the podcast, make sure you click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts, listen back to all our previous episodes, sit back, grab a brew and let's enjoy today's episode. Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben. Well, it's the 31st of December, and what a year we have had. I cannot believe how I don't know if it's flown this year, to be honest. It seems to have dragged quite a lot, and I have got plenty done this year and achieved so much. We must have recorded about 100 episodes of this podcast over the year, and without you listeners, I wouldn't certainly have done it, because the listeners seem to be getting more and more people are subscribing to it and people are leaving great reviews. And also I received a message today from one listener saying that how she enjoys it so much and she likes to relax to it at night and listen to it. So it's always great to get your messages from listeners. So feel free to send me a message if you are listening. It's always good to hear from you, and if you don't send me a message, I'm wishing you a happy new year from Gardening with Ben. So what have we achieved this year? Well, we've obviously got this podcast up and running, but little did I know that it'd get nominated for an award, the Grow Your Own magazine award for Best Gardening Podcast. Now I were up against 3 very other fantastic podcasts, bearing in mind I'd only been running a few months and it weren't up and running that much at the moment. But I got nominated and then I got whittled down and I won it, and I really cannot believe that I won the best podcast, because it's something new to me. I've never done podcasting before. I don't even edit them. I just lay them out raw for you to listen to, and everybody seems to enjoy it. So thank you for all those that did vote for me and make me a winner. It's the first award that I've ever won for gardening, so let's see if we can make another award for 2022 and possibly one of the other ones as well, what you can nominate me for. So we'll have to see about that. And with how successful this one's going, I've actually launched a second podcast, which are 5-minute short little episodes talking about different gardening tips and different gardening advice on a regular basis for you to all listen to. And they seem to be doing really well, so I'm pleased with how they're doing. And that one's called Gardening and Allotment Tips Podcast. That's Gardening and Allotment Tips Podcast. So if you've not listened to that one, give it a listen to, click that subscribe on that channel and keep that one up and running, and hopefully that one will build up a following and get as many listeners as this one does, because this one, wow, I can't believe how many people actually listen to. And I do look at the stats, because I'm one of those sad sort of people. I like to see how many people are listening, and it tells me where people are listening as well, and it's all over the world. And I can't believe that everybody all over the world is listening to this podcast. And it's even in the Apple iTunes charts, which is phenomenal. So yeah, thank you so much for all your support. And please do keep sharing this podcast with your friends, family. Share them on your Insta stories. If you're listening on Spotify, you can click share on my podcast and you can share it to your Insta stories as well for other people to listen to. And let's see if we can get many more listeners for the next year and keep on building it up, because the more people that do listen to it, the more I'll do it as well. I would love to do this on a daily basis. I know I keep saying I'm trying to do them daily, but I would love to do it on a daily basis. If millions of people managed to listen to it, I'd be able to retire and record them all day long, and they'd be just a live show all the time, to be honest. But yeah, one day I can only dream, but without your support I'll get there. So thank you so much for that. So what have we been up to on our allotment this year? What achievements have we done? Well, my main achievement, I would say, at the beginning of the year, I must have planted around 500 bulbs on my allotment, mainly tulips, hyacinths, and a few daffodils. I didn't plant many daffodils beginning of last year, and they turned out to look absolutely fantastic this year. And because how well they've looked, I must have bought at least 1,000 this year, and I've got all them planted at the end of this year, so fingers crossed it's gonna look absolutely stunning come springtime down on my allotment, and I really can't wait to be sharing that with you all. And hopefully Mr. Squirrel won't eat them all and take all the bulbs, because squirrels do love pulling the bulbs up. Hopefully they're all safe and sound, and they'll start waking up and starting to bloom and spread the wings on my plot. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to some pictures of those coming up. Obviously, you will have known that I have struggled quite a lot with my mental health this year, and I still am struggling. I'll hold my hands up at that. It's something that I really am struggling with at the moment, and I'm spending a lot of time on my own when I should be around other people. But I do love still doing this and sharing with you all what I'm getting up to at the allotment, and the followers that encourage me to do it. That's the main purpose that I do it, and the enjoyment that I get out of being on the plot. And allotments are fantastic for your mental health. Being out in the fresh air, listening to the birds, being out in the sunshine when it is sunny, that is the perfect cure for depression and mental health. Being out in the garden, getting your hands dirty, enjoying what grows, seeing what grows, and enjoying all that. So that is perfect. So if you're looking at getting an allotment for that reason, please do so. So what other achievements have I had this year? As always, like I said, I've not had much time for getting down to the plot this year because I lost my other job, my main job, last year, and that was working shifts. So working shifts, I had more time to get down on the allotment because I was off for longer, and obviously I could go down in the afternoon when I was working night shifts and stuff like that. So it was perfect for spending time on the allotment. But this year I've been working 9 or 5 a lot of the times, and more often than not I can't be bothered to go to the allotment at night after I've been at work all day. So I was only going down a couple of days a week, so I couldn't put into the allotment what I wanted to put into it because I hadn't got the time. So I couldn't grow anything in the polytunnel this year. I couldn't grow all my tomatoes, I couldn't grow all my cucumbers, so they all went by the wayside. But we still had stuff growing in the plot, and the stuff that I had growing in the plot was obviously my fruit, because I didn't need to plant them, they grew all the time. And because I had planted so many spring bulbs, I really think that is why I got so much fruit this year, because when the spring bulbs come out, the bees see the spring bulbs, that encourages them to come to the plot, and all the blossom is out in the allotment at that time on your fruit trees, so it encourages more pollination, so you get a good crop. So that is what I have done this year. I've got more bulbs to try and get more fruit on my plot, and last year I got an absolutely staggering amount of fruit. The amount of plums on my Victoria plum tree was absolutely amazing. They were like literally breaking the branches. They were that heavy with how many plums I'd got growing on it, and I couldn't give them away. My neighbours were having them, my family were having them, but yeah, everybody absolutely loved them. I didn't do well with my cooking apple tree because I gave it a massive prune back last year, and I believe that's probably what's caused it not to produce as much cooking apples. But this year I've not given it a prune, so hopefully we will get lots next year. And now for my raspberries. My raspberries did absolutely fantastic as well. I've got 2 varieties of raspberries. I've got summer variety of raspberries, what I've come over from my neighbour's plot, but I won't say no to them. And I've also got the autumn variety of raspberry, which I planted myself when I first got the plot, and they are doing fantastic. Now, autumn are the best variety that I prefer. They seem to produce more fruit, and they're easier to look after, because all you do at the end of the year is you just chop them all down to the bases, and then they grow new canes for the year after, and they grow the fruit on them ones. Whereas summer variety only grow fruit on the canes what have grown the year before. So when you're pruning them, you only prune the ones that have had fruit on, because the new growth will have the fruit on the year after, which is very confusing. So you need to know which ones had fruit on and which ones haven't had fruit on. So it can get all a little bit complicated like that. But in regards to my strawberries, if you know me well enough by now, you will know that my strawberries are my babies. If I don't look after my strawberries will not look after me. Now, I only started my plot off with about 12 strawberry plants, and now I have around 200 strawberry plants on my plot. Yes, you heard that right, 200 strawberry plants. And the reason for this is that they send out runners at the end of the year, and I tend to pot them all up and I plant them all. I either give some to some friends, or I plant them back into my plot. I replace old plants what aren't doing very well, or I just plant more and more plants. And this year I took off a lot of runners off my plants, and I gave them to my neighbour's plot, and he did the same. He took the runners off him after the year, and now he has 100 plants, because he knows that these strawberries are absolutely delicious, which I've got on my plot, and they produce the fantastic strawberry fruit, and you can be picking them for a few weeks because they are that delicious. And when you've got a lot of plants like that, you can be picking them every single day and enjoying the freshness of the strawberries. Now, I look after these plants so much. Every year I cut them all back, tidy them all up, I weed round them, I feed them at the beginning of the year to give them an extra boost to get them growing. But strawberries are my babies, and I will still be growing more strawberries every single year. I'll just keep increasing the crop and planting more plants, because you can never have enough strawberries. Until you've grown strawberries, you don't know how delicious they are when you hand pick them and just eat them straight at the plot, just like that. So I'm really pleased with how well they've done on. So now going on to my vegetables, which I grew this year. This year I decided to try different varieties of squash to grow, and squash is not something that I've really grown before because I don't eat a lot of it. But I grew it this year to experiment and try different varieties of squashes, and I'm so glad I did, because there were some absolutely fantastic varieties to try, and I got some good crops from some of them, and I'll definitely be trying some more of them crops this year, and hopefully we'll get a good produce from them, and we'll be sharing them with friends and family. Because when I'm gardening, I'm not just gardening for myself, I'm gardening for my friends and family as well. I don't keep half of the produce what I grow. I give it away to work colleagues, to friends, to family, for them to enjoy. I'm not just growing it for myself all the time. I just go down there to enjoy being out in the fresh air and being out in the open and enjoying being at the allotment. So I do a lot. I just grow stuff for the sake of it, to be honest. Obviously to share tips with you guys and girls, but also to be out in the fresh air and to enjoy it and just be there. Obviously I live in a flat, so I've got no garden, so I use that as my garden, just to sit in there and enjoy it and be out there and to get out in the fresh air. So that's the reason why I do most of the gardening. It's not always for the produce, but it's just to be outside in the fresh air and to enjoy it. So yeah, I did fantastic with the squashes. I did varieties of seed onions and bulb onions, and well, they're called set onions, not bulb onions. I would comparing to see which ones did best. I would say the seed onions possibly did best than the set onions, but I'll be possibly trying them both again this year, because like I said, I didn't put much time and effort in last year, which I should have done, but this year I've got so much more time on my hands. I'm going to be really pushing for a good allotment this year. That is my plan, to try and a lot more new stuff on my plot. And if you listen to yesterday's episode, I'll have talked about all the new stuff I want to try this year, and if you listen to tomorrow's episode, I'll go over that again, and I'll talk about all the new things that I want to try in the new year. So make sure you click that subscribe button to listen to tomorrow's episode, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, I had a lot of failures down on the plot this year. I didn't have the best year. My sweet corn didn't do as good as it should have done. The squirrels ate quite a lot of it, but what my dad did, which I suggested to him, because obviously they've got you can use them sweet corn more than me, I told him to put pop bottles over the end of them to stop the squirrels from getting to them, and that worked fantastic. It kept the squirrels off all the cobs, and they got to eat loads of it. So if you've got squirrel problems on your allotment or in the garden, put pop bottles over your corn, and that will protect them from being eaten, because they do just tend to strip the lot. I was watching the squirrels pull away all the sweet corn on people's plants and just take them away, and they were enjoying them obviously more than the allotment people were enjoying them. So yeah, I was disappointed about my sweet corn, because I absolutely adore growing sweet corn. It's one of the favourite things that you can grow, because they say that as soon as you've picked it, you need to take it home and eat it, because it starts losing its taste. And you'll understand that once you've tried growing it and cooking it the same day. And trust me, it is absolutely delicious. If you've not tried growing sweet corn, try growing it. And I was watching a funny video the other day of Holly Willoughby on This Morning. She was growing sweet corn this year, and she says that she kept growing it and pulling the plants up from the ground, and there was no sweet corn underneath, because she thought it grew underneath the ground. That she didn't realise it actually grew on the plants. So yeah, it was quite funny. She thought it grew like carrots under the ground. So if you've not tried growing it, have a try. It is easy to grow, and I'll explain about growing sweet corn as we get time towards that end of the season. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. So, and my flowers, I grew absolutely fantastic flowers this year. I wanted to try growing lots of different varieties of sunflowers, and I did it. I grew all different shades of sunflowers, all different varieties of sunflowers, and they looked absolutely beautiful on my plot this year. And I'll be doing the same again next year, because I know I can grow them, and I know what they look like now. Because that's things, sometimes they look brilliant on packets, but you don't actually know what they look like in real life until you've actually grown them. So I'm going to be trying lots of new sunflowers again next year and enjoying that. I just really can't wait for the growing season ahead this year. Like I said, it upset me a lot because I didn't do very well last year, and I want to do a lot better this year. I feel like I've let a lot of you followers and listeners down because of how bad I did. I'm meant to be showing what I'm doing, but I didn't really have much to show you. So yeah, hopefully we'll have plenty to show you this year down at the allotment, and I hope that you can enjoy it. So I hope that you've had a fantastic year. I hope you've enjoyed listening to all these podcasts. Please do keep sharing them with other people. Please do subscribe to them, and please do keep supporting me, because it does mean the world to me. And I really do mean that. I'm not just doing it because I'm doing this episode. Every message I receive from you guys, I like to reply to you and say thank you very much for listening. And yeah, it does boost me when I do get a message from somebody. So thanks for listening. As always, remember, keep smiling, keep gardening, and keep listening to Gardening with Ben podcasts. Until next year, everyone. See you all later. So thank you for listening to today's episode of Gardening with Ben. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Remember to do click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts. Feel free to share them on your Instagram stories so that it spreads the word about my podcast and we get lots more listeners. Feel free to check out my social media sites, Facebook and Instagram as well, Gardening with Ben, and also my YouTube channel, to stay up to date with all my handy videos, how-to videos, and sharing my tips and advice. And feel free to check the link as well in the description for my Gardening with Ben t-shirts. Lots of funny gardening design t-shirts in there for you to purchase at great prices too. So thanks again, and as always, remember, keep smiling and keep gardening.